Welcome to the Sense of Soul podcast. We are your hosts, Shanna and Mandy.
Grab your coffee, open your mind, heart, and soul. It's time to awaken.
We're super excited to have Daniel Mangena. He's here with us today from Cabo. I'm super jealous because it's cold here in Colorado. I would much rather be in Cabo on the beach. Oh my gosh, you do a lot. You are an entrepreneur, a public speaker, radio host. You have your own podcast. You're a best-selling author. You say that you are just a man who felt the calling to share his life experiences and hopes others might be inspired. You have your own blog. You have been featured on Wall Street Journal, Masters of Success, The Times, Market Watch, Fox News, and many more prominent publications. I mean, seriously, what do you not do? It's exciting to have you on, and we cannot wait to dream with Dan.
Nice. Well, I'm still working on my jump shot, so I'll get back to you.
You know what, Dan? I love how you have this quote. It says, dream with your eyes open.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to talk with you guys about the soul, about dreams, about abundance, about all of the groovy things and all the lovely stuff. Dreaming is one of these things that we're encouraged to do, but then we're given all these limitations about what we're allowed to do with it, right? Or they say, this is what you should dream about. You should be dreaming about living a life like this, having this many kids, as long as it makes sense. I've been blessed to have had some really troubling experiences over my life, going back from overcoming my dalliance with suicide to epic failures and monstrous successes. And through all of it, I've come to this realization that this is just one big game at the end of the day. I love to say there's no point taking this thing so seriously. None of us are getting out of it alive. If we want to talk about the soul and start talking about the level of consciousness where soul exists, we're talking about infinite possibility and the fact that really every single combination of this moment, every single variation of our life, if scientists are correct and they might be wrong, is actually happening here and now at some level. So there's no way that we can actually fail. So dream big, have fun, do it consciously and deliberately on your terms, not what other people said you should be dreaming about or how you should be dreaming, but just to ask yourself, of these feelings, these emotions, these desires, these passions that are within me, which ones are mine? Which ones do I want to see? And how can I live them more abundantly and joyfully today?
I love it. It's about getting to know you. When I introduced you, I talked a lot about your resume, and it's very impressive and all that you do. You sound like such a busy man. But we always like to ask our guests, could you describe your soul to us?
My soul is a wanderer. I love an adventure. But what's really interesting is that for me, I don't like things changing too much, but I don't like things staying the same. There's this oxymoronic juxtaposition of these two ideas within me. And I think that's really indicative of the way that reality works as a whole. Like if we look at physical reality, and I'm going down this path because we're talking about soul, and soul isn't a physical thing. So we've already identified that we've got the meat and bones, what we experience with our senses, and then we've got all the other stuff. And we see the expression of our soul. For me, I see the expression of my soul in what I'm called to. So I love to teach. I love to share. Right now, I'm obsessed with being a dad. And I love all of this newness. But then this comfort of wanting things to stay the same, sometimes it's an anchor for me. Sometimes it's what holds me back and it's something that I have to overcome. But ultimately, it creates this tension that actually allows me to expand. So I've got these two opposing ideas of staying still and moving and changing, this underlying narrative of wanting to share my experiences, which is juxtaposed with this idea that, oh my God, why do I have to go through all of this stuff anyway? And all of it wraps in this playful, curious desire to just continue expanding as much as I can and support people doing the same. So ultimately, I'd say my soul is that of a student that desires that learning to have a purpose, and that calls me to end up being a teacher.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to explain that. I love how you also said that your hardships were your blessings, because that's something that Mandy and I really talk about. We find that a lot of our guests all have like that pain to purpose.
I was there for the birth of my nephew 7 years ago. He was born by C-section and I thought I got it. I gave him his first kiss, but being there in the room when Ethan was born and like holding Olga's hand or Olga crushing my hand, she was giving to him, right? Like I've spoken about this before, you know, the whole pain to purpose thing. Let's talk about pain for a second. What is pain? Pain is a series of electrical signals that are interpreted by the brain to be uncomfortable. That's what it is, right? But pain does have a purpose. When I have a headache, it could be a message that I need to drink some water, that I need to rest, I need to sleep. It's just a message. If we go to the realm of universal law and talk about the law of relativity, nothing actually is anything until it's compared to something else. Everything just is. So pain is just a signal. And until we give it meaning, it is just that, just a signal. So when we have these painful experiences, challenges, sometimes that we overcome and sometimes that we don't, they really don't mean anything until we compare it to something else, until we give it meaning. And the really beautiful thing is we always ultimately have the choice about what that meaning is. And everything, absolutely everything can be uplifting and powerful. I mean, the pain that you lady humans go through when you're giving birth to mini humans, oh my goodness.
Hello. Oh yeah.
But
I just wish that you men could experience it.
No,
with
I'm
us.
okay. I'm cool. I'm really
better.
good being a bystander. I'm really good. But that is one of the most excruciating, livable pains that a human goes through signifies the beauty of creating new life. How does that work?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Suffering. Yeah, it's temporary suffering though. And I think that suffering should be temporary. And thank God that labor pains are temporary for sure. And by the way, I have an Ethan too.
You have an Ethan too?
I
This is amazing. Do you know what's really funny? Like we had these other names that we were looking at. In fact, he was Leo for about 5 months.
Oh, well, guess what? My son's last name is Leo Poldus. And so he's called Ethan Leo.
Okay, I'm getting goosies here. Definitely some synchronicity here. I mean, suffering, what is suffering? Suffering is the choice, either consciously or unconsciously, to take the perspective on pain that's disempowering. A headache can be suffering or it can be a message.
Right. Yeah.
Why do we feel like we have to label and compare everything instead of just being?
We need to understand things so that we can feel safe. We need structure. We crave structure so that we can feel safe. If we look at society and the way that society operates, look at the madness that went on last year and continues to go on now. People arguing, but those are crying for more control because they want the illusion of safety. They want to feel, oh, I want to know my government's doing something. Why are you so dependent on your government? Why can't you depend on yourself? Because we're not taught to depend on ourselves. We're taught to wait. We're told when to eat, you know, when to get up in the morning, when to go to sleep. And it's one of the reasons why I focus so much on empowering people to have financial abundance, because it creates the space to have more choices about how you direct your life, rather than ultimately being a slave to circumstance and a slave to those who tell you what you can and can't do. But we label things because we're trained to wait for someone else to direct us. As that label gives us a path, a structure that we can follow. We don't actually have the peace to direct our own lives because we're just not taught that that's something we can do or even should do. In fact, it's disdained, right?
Mm-hmm. So if you were to make a suggestion to someone on how to make that choice of what the meaning is going to be, what would that look like?
Let's go back to 2008 when I first read The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. That book created this massive vacuum that I went on to spend the next 10 years, 11 years trying to fill. My beyond intention paradigm essentially was me seeking to create a framework to actually practically apply the power of now. When I read that book, so much started to make sense to me about the importance of being present enough to actually direct the outcomes in our life, because nothing else is real. I said this the other day on a podcast, actually, that time is an illusion that's constructed of memories, the now, and expectations. Past is no longer here, so we're just reflecting on the memories that are often distorted. We have now, which is moving moment to moment, and then we have the expectations we have for the future that become what we experience. That's the illusion of time. But when we're caught in the memories or we're caught in the expectations, we're not present enough to actually make a directive choice that instead of the expectations that we don't want showing up, what we want to come can actually be a part of our life, whether that's more health, better sex, great relationships, meaning, purpose, money, whatever. And so when the power of now became a part of my experience and I really delved into it, I understood that we can't access the now until we accept that the only way through to the now is if we choose to step into the now. If I'm still caught up in guilt and shame and rejecting my power, if I'm still caught up in blame and giving other people power over me, if I'm still caught up in fear and anxiety, projecting myself into a future, I'm not present enough to do anything. So the first thing we have to do is accept our power and then take a freaking pause and come back to now. Because as long as I'm not in the now, there's nothing I can do anyway. I can't direct my fate. I'm just going to be on the waves of whatever's going on. So first and foremost, I'm the author and creator of my life. Everything that's happened up till now, consciously or unconsciously, has been my choice. Everything that will come will, consciously or unconsciously, be my choice. I choose here and now to be present enough to be conscious in what that choice is.
And you need the space to make a very conscious decision of your next move.
100%. Here's the thing. The only place that I can make real change is in the place that's actually real. And the only place that's real is now. So if I'm outside of the now.
But no, I love that. It's so true. But I sometimes really suck at like getting caught up in letting my emotions take over instead of pausing.
Do you want to hack?
You know?
Do you want to hack?
Yes.
dreamwithdan.com/HC. I've got a free visualization called How to Step into the Heart Center. It takes about 4 minutes. And I take you through this guided visualization that actually brings you into heart coherence. The Heart Math organization, the global group of scientists and stuff, and they've actually been doing all this research into how coherence in the heart and brain actually measurably shifts your energy field. Coherence in the brain is what we end up experiencing as coherence in life. Incoherence in our brain is what we end up experiencing as incoherence in our life. So when you're wanting to pause and all of the stuff's happening and you can't pause, it's because mentally you're in a space of incoherence. When we bring in coherence between the brain and the heart, that actually changes the brain waves and allows you to think differently. The thoughts that we're able to have is a reflection of our emotional state, because our emotional state produces different chemicals and hormones, which affects the brain chemistry, which affects the thinking patterns, which affects the choices. So when we want to do something, but we're fuzzy around it, it's because we're out of sync mentally and emotionally. But when we do tricks like the heart coherence, getting into heart coherence, which this visualization will help you to do, it creates the space for you to be able to make the choice because it wipes the slate clean of whatever's going on now.
The next time I'm in like a heated conversation with someone and those emotions start rising, I'm just going to go pause, and then I'm going to play that 4 minute.
If you're in a thing, I've got another resource. I've got another resource on my free resource page called the Clearing Toolkit. And what the Clearing Toolkit is like, I've spent the last 20 years collecting different tools that you can use to get into the now. So it might be taking a deep breath, slowing down the breathing, just gets you out of your parasympathetic nervous system and allows you to start shifting. So it could be changing your physiology. One of the funniest things I've ever heard is shake your butt. Like if you shake your butt, it's physically impossible to be angry and shaking your butt.
Oh my God, I could shake my butt all day.
So if you're getting into a heated conversation, try shaking your butt. For me, I check in intimately over the course of the day. It's one of the things I teach my students to do, and I talk about it all the time. It's a practice called check-ins. I mean, nobody's going to be able to stay on top of this stuff all the time. Let's just get that right. Every single person, I mean, Jesus lost his shit and started turning stuff over in the temple, right? And if the son of God's going to lose his, like, we're humans. Let's just accept that's going to be the case. But what we can do is limit the amount of time that we spend in the emotional space that results from those disempowering moments in time. Everyone's got one person that's going to make them lose their crap. Everyone's got one event or one thing that throws them off. But the trick is, do I allow that to be something that flows into the rest of my day, the rest of my week, the rest of my life? Or do I give it space to be itself, coming back to Eckhart Tolle, not resisting it, just witnessing it? Yeah. And the easiest way to do that is to think about what we're thinking about, because I can't be in the thought and thinking the thought at the same time. Yeah. So if I think about what I'm thinking about, that automatically creates a separation. That separation might be enough space for me to breathe differently. That breathing differently might be enough for me to say, do you know what, babe? This conversation is not really moving in a positive light. I love you. I don't want to have us poison our relationship with this conversation. Can I have some time to go and gather my thoughts and come back and have a conversation with you? Yeah.
It's interesting because last night my husband wanted to get into this heated conversation about the rioting at the Capitol, and I set a boundary and I said, I would prefer not to speak on this right now. I need some space. But he didn't want to stop. He wanted to keep going. So I just had to detach for a moment. And it was funny because I happened to be texting with Shanna and she said, just go play something funny for a moment, or say something funny, or throw up a funny TikTok, and maybe that'll help. She said, I have to do that all the time. So it's interesting that you said shake your butt, because not only is that funny for me, but it would probably be funny for everyone in the room.
It's a great pattern to interrupt.
I'm going to try it.
Shake it.
I think I think that you should make this global shake your butt.
Hashtag shake your butt.
I was thinking about something though. Recently I saw this study and they were talking about how if you're walking up to a house and you see a sign that says beware of dog, without you even knowing it and without you even making a conscious choice, your amygdala and your brain is going to start shooting this kind of, fight or fight response. And you didn't even give it a lot of attention. Your brain's going to start to do that. I thought that was really interesting because I was like, that sucks.
Wait, one.
Number one, that sucks.
Number two.
And number two is, how do we change that?
I think it's fascinating because there's more synchronicity here. Because like the TED Talk I'm going to be doing in September of this year, because it's 2021 now. TED Talk I'm doing in September, I'm looking at expectation and how expectation actually forms our reality and disrupting the unconscious expectations that don't relate to our conscious choice. The power of the brain to operate into these patterns is really, really powerful. I mean, did you just tell your heart to beat? I didn't, but it's still beating. Did you just tell your lungs to pump? No, but it did it. Because the program, the operating system of ourselves is very, very, very efficient. If we look at evolutionary psychology, a lot of the time, some of these patterns of behavior that we have that are automatically ingrained into us served a purpose thousands of years ago. If there's a thing that there's potential danger, your brain's like, oh, there could be some danger there. It's time to get ready to go and, save ourselves. But we don't live being bloody conscious in what we're creating in the first place. Having a conscious relationship with ourselves, like you said, getting to know ourselves from a soul level down, in and out. And from that place, choosing what do I want? Because unless we start stepping in and consciously overwriting what's going on, all of these unknown insidious programs across the board will very efficiently come out to play.
Man, you're very wise.
Only on a Friday. Oh, it is Friday.
So far, everything that we've talked about, Shannon and I completely align with. But there is one thing that I don't align with you on. And I'm like, oh gosh, I got to ask him about this.
I know what you're going to say.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why do you tell people to stop meditating?
That is like my clickbait. That is like my.
I love it. What the heck?
Let's just break it down.
That is like the opposite of what we tell people. We're like, start meditating.
Now it's time to breathe. Now it's time to breathe. Now it's time to breathe and shake your butt, because it doesn't say don't meditate. It says stop, which means that you have to have started in the first place. So what we're talking about is do the work of meditation and then go and take care of the rest of it. One of the things that I found to be really interesting is I've been on my journey. I mean, I got into personal development in my teens. So I've been at this game about 20 years. I've gone through mysticism, esoterics, brain science, Kundalini yoga, all of the things. And it's fascinating to see how many people believe that the magic of spiritual practice alone is going to be the thing that changes their life. And they take the beauty of this amazing world of spiritual practice and effectively bastardize it by doing nothing other than just it. But ultimately, we're not just energy beings. We're not just a chakra system floating around in the ethers. We're a chakra system. We've also got a series of limiting beliefs and expansive beliefs. We've got a mental body. And we've also got a physical body that moves through time and space. No matter what we are working on energetically and spiritually, in order for that to have any operational existence in our physical reality, we need to have the connective tissue of a belief system that supports it, because what we don't believe is possible, we won't even be able to see. And we have to move through time and space in alignment with it so that we can receive it. Ergo, stop meditating, start taking care of the belief system, being open to that which you're praying for, and start stepping up to the plate and receiving what you're praying for. And that's why I tell people to stop meditating.
Just reminded me too that you read something and it doesn't mean exactly what you always think it does. Yeah.
Step out of the expectation, come to now.
Let's go back for a moment, because we don't love to glorify the pain, but the pain is ultimately sometimes what shoots us into our purpose. So you talked about wanting to commit suicide. You also were diagnosed with Asperger's at one point in your life.
Yeah, when I was 27.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 27. So I spent 27 years being severely autistic with no reason, no understanding what was going on for me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a weird question.
Yeah.
Do you wish you were never diagnosed, or are you
no.
glad?
Thank God I was diagnosed, because
Okay.
I had crippling social anxiety, crippling general anxiety. I was suffering from insomnia for, I don't know, sometimes days or weeks at a time consistently. I had no capacity for holding relationships or having communication. I had no
So
friends.
you weren't that guy at the school dances shaking his butt in front of everyone. I
was the guy at the school dance awkwardly having conversations with people that they ended up just walking. The amount of times, I'm going to tell you a funny story. So I was with my sister, a couple of cousins were at this wine bar, whatever thing in Stratford, which is a place in East London. As the evening went on, I found myself in conversation with the young lady, which doesn't normally happen because I was far too awkward to be able to hold a conversation other than a few words. It was hilarious. My entire dating history up until then had been someone that kind of thought I was cute enough to kind of put up with my awkwardness, or felt sorry enough for me to put up with my awkwardness. That was my dating experience. Or hung around until they realized how awkward I was, and it was like, okay, this isn't going to work. But so I'm having a conversation with the young lady, and I'm actually crazed at how well this conversation is going, because we're still here. I haven't put my foot in my mouth. I'm calm. I'm collected. And I think, was I drinking by then? I don't think I really drank by that time. And then she started talking about how much she liked chocolate. Right. This is an example of the way that my brain works, and it just didn't connect with non-autistic people. So my brain works in ones and zeros. Everything's very patterned and ordered. And so I went all the way to the end of this equation where a phrase I'm about to tell you made perfect sense. And then I'm going to backtrack and tell you what I meant, and you'll see an example.
Okay.
So I was like, is dairy milk enough for you, or do you prefer Bourneville? Because if so, I can head up to Birmingham right now and ask Cadbury for an upgrade. Right. So that was what came out of my mouth. Right.
I would have been like, what the?
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. So she kind of looked at me like, huh? And then just shook her head and walked away. My sister was just behind me. She's laughing her pads off. She still likes to embarrass me about that to this day. So I'm going to explain what that meant. Okay. So there's a brand of chocolate, brand of candy in the UK called Cadbury's. Their factory is in Birmingham. It's a city in London. Bourneville is their brand of dark chocolate. Dairy Milk is their kind of my tone mid chocolate. So I was saying, if she, you're getting it now, if she preferred darker chocolate, then I'd go to Cadbury's and invite an upgrade to Bourneville and then return the grade of chocolate that she would like, because I'm just that kind of guy. Except it makes no sense without the context, but that's the way my head. So that's an example of the kind of thing that you would get from me until I was diagnosed.
Can I tell you one other thing here, Daniel? My son, Ethan Leo, is autistic.
Get out of town.
I swear to God.
I'm having goosies right now.
I know, me too. I just got, because my son's here with me, I just got done telling him that. He's like, what?
That's crazy.
Can I ask you a question? I notice a lot of times you're using your hands for our listeners. He uses his hands a lot. You're looking up kind of like in the air. Do you see equations and numbers?
No, I see more. It's more like seeing, like, I can't really explain it. It's like seeing colors, but not really seeing colors. I see, since I've been developing my spiritual gifts, I see energy really, really, like I can see energy fields around people and stuff like that. It's really, really fun to see.
I love that.
Well, I engage with it that way.
I can't even imagine how hard that could be at times and challenging as a child, because your brain you're trying to like organize everything.
Everything has to be organized, or I have like complete meltdowns. If you ask me to solve the debt crisis of the world, I'd be fine. Like when a bus is late, or like I'm out and Olga like changes what she wants on the shopping list, I have to catch myself from having a complete and utter freak out meltdown. Like little things like that completely knock me out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, Daniel, about how important intentions are, because it's something that Mandy and I talk about often.
Oh my God, intentions are the backbone to everything for me. My model's called Beyond Intention. My book is called Stepping Beyond Intention. And for me, intentionality is the most effective tool that we have to disrupt the unconscious programs that we're operating on. For me, an intention is breaking that pattern, disrupting it, and introducing consciously what we actually want instead. If we're looking like a computer program, it's almost like our programs are operating like MS-DOS for all the old school peeps in the ground, right? They're listening in. And the operating system over the top is like Windows. And so when we're being intentional, we're choosing what program we're running on Windows versus whatever normally naturally is happening. Because without that, we're just going to be operating on those programs. And I think Bruce Lipton it was that said 70% of those programs we didn't even construct ourselves. They were just soaked in through our environment between the ages of like 2 and 7 or 2 and 8 and something like that. How many of us can remember what was going on when we were like 5 or 6 years old or 7 years old? I don't remember what was going on. And then we go and then the hormonal teens just more deeply imprints those. And then we get to be an adult and start making choices, but we're doing all that through the lens of the programs and then the hormones. And then we get to 35 and then the neural pathways start to set in. And then this is who we are. Intention is a way to bypass all of that and start creating the life that we want versus the life that our environment, our experiences, our traumas, our pains, or any of that stuff tell us that we have to be.
Yeah. We also agree with you when I've heard you talk about how you have to be aligned with your intention.
Yeah.
I could want like a Lamborghini and I could try to manifest it, but I have 4 kids. That ain't going to work out for me.
Wait, hold on. You don't actually really align with wanting a Lamborghini?
Well, I mean, you can't put no car seats in the back.
Take one at a time. Take one at a time.
Yeah, it doesn't work out. It doesn't align with my life right now.
Yeah. I mean, let's do a bit more breaking down. When we were talking about stop meditating before, I went into that we've got mental body, we've got emotional body, we've got physical body, right? I like to say that beliefs are the backbone of our mental body, our skeleton backbones, our physical body, our chakra system backbones, our energetic body. Each one of these bodies actually has an entire realm of existence that we can relate to. We can go into the unconscious and tools like hypnosis and regression in order to see what's going on mentally. Our body tells us what's going on in the history of our physical body, and our energy field, which is measurable, can tell us what's going on there too. When we start looking at universal law like the law of vibration, which people then throw in like law of attraction and all this kind of stuff, vibration is first felt by us as emotion. The first point of contact that we have with vibration is emotion. So our energy field, which is measured through frequency, is experienced as emotion. Let's start to correlate this with an intention. Let's say, for example, I want to be in a healthy, loving relationship. However, my emotional field is full of anger and hate. How can those two experiences sit in the same space? My intention of a healthy, loving relationship and a hateful, angry person. Now, it's not that they're impossible because we've got infinite possibility, but the probability drops. Now, let's muddy the waters a little bit more. Let's say that I don't believe, my belief system is polluted with the idea that I'm unworthy of being in a relationship. Again, how is that going to sit in the same space as me having a healthy, loving relationship? Now, on top of that, let's say that I'm going on every dating site. I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing all the dating courses. I'm following the strategy. I've got the perfect eHarmony profile. What does it matter? The strategy, although perfectly executed, what purpose is that if I haven't done everything else? Let's put this into money now. I have a fear of being abundant. I've got trauma in my emotional experience from something that happened around either not having money or just a bastardized emotional relationship with money. How is that going to sit with me being abundant? Now, let's say I'm unworthy of it. I don't believe it's possible. I've got a story that I've got 4 kids, so I can't have a Lamborghini. How is that going to overlay with that? Then I go and invest in a program with somebody. I spend 10,000 learning to do this, or I do that, or I do all the things. I work really hard. The two narratives don't juxtapose. So what we feel, what we believe, and what we do all have to match up with our intention. Otherwise, a probability just drops. Again, not that it's impossible because we live in a universe of infinite possibility, but the probability drops drastically.
Can you repeat those again? You have to feel,
what I feel,
believe,
what I believe, and what I do.
All have to match and align.
That will
with
have
your
to
intention.
match. And what you can do, like for all the people that are listening that want to kind of see, I mean, my video on this is around financial abundance and how to create that alignment with financial abundance. But when you understand the principles, you can apply it to anything because the laws of the universe don't change based on whether you're manifesting health, relationships, or money. But when you do it with money, it's a great tool to measure where you're at. Because if I then set out to intend to create $1,000 and I create $1,000, then I know that I've cracked it. I can then take that working formula and then go apply it to my health, apply it to my relationships or whatever. But dreamingdan.com/HMM, how to be a harmonious money magnet. That would take you through like this idea of where alignment fails to show up with what we're creating and how we can overcome that and start to step into alignment and start to manifest what we want.
Why do you talk so much about money? Aren't there like more important things? You know, like I know for me personally, when I got into my spiritual awakening, I felt like I needed to get rid of my money, and I felt like I needed to get rid of my stuff, and I felt like I needed to like purge my storage unit, and I felt like it was going against the grain of being a spiritual person if I was focusing on money, and I realized that was false.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I still do carry a little bit of shame about sitting in meditation or prayer and asking my guides and my God to help me to have money.
Okay, why? But is that true for everyone and for everything?
No. Maybe because I have this rooted belief that evil comes from money because of our country and where we're at. And you see a lot of ego and power and money correlated in all the bullshit that in our history.
But have you developed a conscious relationship to the alternative narrative?
No.
So what's going to happen is that your underlying narrative is going to be led by the only narrative that you've given it, which is that these things are bad, versus actually consciously choosing what is my narrative around money. I mean, look, everything physically ultimately is just a counterpart to something happening energetically. This physical body is just a physical counterpart to energy frequencies expanding and contracting to form this pattern of thing that I call carbon, that's in this pattern of this thing that I call Daniel Mangena. Money, I don't have any money here, I've got a coin. This is just energy expanding and contracting to form this thing of compounds of things that is metal, that is a coin of 10 pesos, which is just something that I can use as a medium of exchange for someone for not very much, because it's about 50 cents, but a medium of exchange for someone for something else. It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have a story or a narrative until I give it one. It's just a piece of metal that's a tool, a medium of exchange. That's all money is. And more times these days, just numbers on a screen that facilitate me having more choice. That's it. Now, have some people gathered these converges of energy through means that are disempowering to others or oppressive of others? Yes. Is that all of them? No. Do you have it? I have a choice on which one I am. Yes. Do I like nice things? Yes. I like flying first class. I like having a Rolex watch. I like living in Cabo. I like that my son's probably not going to have to want for anything. I don't necessarily like the credit card bills from my wife, but I like being able to pay them, right? But I have the choice to express myself. Now, if the purpose of the soul is not to go on a journey to be the embodiment of God expressing itself, to witness and experience new things, then what is it? And if I have this medium that's readily available for me to have more choice in what I experience and therefore complete my mission of reporting back to God that which I've experienced of life, then I should have as much of this as possible, but I should do it in a way that does no harm to others, doesn't put others down, and adds more life to others and expands more life. And that's how I create, and that's why I empower people to create.
Beautiful. And it landed right with the intention at the end.
Exactly.
Wow. That was awesome.
That was awesome. Thank you. Mandy can tell you, I unconsciously do this, don't I, Mandy?
Which part?
The manifesting. I think that, do you think that sometimes there's just like divine guidance that just steps in? They're like, she needs some help. She'll leave.
I think we're always protected. Go for it.
Let me tell you, it kind of actually annoys me. I mean, I'm kidding. I get very excited for her, but every single, I've been best friends with Shanna since she was 15. And every single Christmas, she starts to like freak out because she doesn't have money and she wants to provide a good Christmas for her children. And every year I have seen her go through so much stress during the holidays. And this year I could feel it happening to her again. And I said, girlfriend, haven't you seen the pattern over the last like 20 years? Like every time you start to freak out, somehow the money comes to you. And sure as shit, she texts me the next day like, girl, I woke up and I had $1,200 in my account. And then I hopped on this website and I found another $600. And I'm like, of course you did. Of course you did. Or
Remember
she'll be
when
like,
I even manifested like a $50,000 check one time. Literally, I'm like, what?
Do you
Thank
know what?
you.
I
Thank
think you
you.
guys, right, what we have to do, you have to shoot me an email with some postal addresses. I'm going to give you guys a copy of my book, The Money Game. I'd love to
Thank
see what
you.
happens if you actually go through the steps of the money game and actually consciously step into creating money. Because I've had some big wins for people, like people doing my the game have had some big wins. But I'd love to see what actually happened with you guys of that. That would be fun for me to witness.
We had on a guest, her name's Christine Michelle, and I love how she says it. She calls the universe her sugar daddy. She's like, just sugar daddy.
just ask your sugar daddy.
That might require some drastic life changes for me, but I'll find a different embodiment for sure.
She says, ask, believe, and receive was what her parents taught her from a very young age. And I said, wow, I like that, because I was just taught ask and receive, not the believe part. Yeah.
And that's where the magic.
You simplify all of this. Of course, that probably took you a long time because you like to organize in your brain. I hopped on your website and I clicked on it, and it sent me the video and the steps. And
so you've been through the harmonious money magnet steps.
I did. I went through it, and I'll be honest, I went through it very fast. So I want to go back and spend a lot more time with it, because podcasting does take up a lot of time, and it's so much time that Shanna and we don't even have other jobs. This is what we do full time. And this is our purpose, because we want to help other people. And for me to say that I wouldn't like a little bit of abundance and income so that we can continue to do this, I would be lying. And so I would love to be your guinea pig and go through these steps and apply it to my life.
Yeah, shoot that over. We'll get those out to you. I'll get Amy to do that like immediately.
But again, the point of bringing that up was sometimes this can like just bombard someone's brain, and they could be like, oh my God, this is a lot. What are we talking about here? And you really simplify it.
You know how they say, like, write an actual check out for that amount and put it up, because some of those things are just not tangible. They're not, realistic, because our brain just wants to, think too much about it. Like, how is this possible? I know that for myself, Mandy will tell you, I research everything. Like, can science back this up? Because I do find that science does back up a lot of things, but this is one that you really just have to learn to trust in yourself, trust in, what are we trusting in when we actually believe in that?
I live down the rabbit hole, right? I spend a lot of time in esoterics and
you too.
All that kind of stuff. And ultimately, I follow something called hologram theory. And hologram theory, in short, says that everything that we're experiencing is just a holographic projection of what's happening inside of us. Yeah. As a result, all the things that we see are just representative of the things that we believe that we're going to see, right? We're just projecting things out. So even down to the science only has validity because I believe in it. Everything I say is a permission slip. Everything's a placebo and a nocebo.
Good point. If you think about it, if like all this information that's flying all over that we can't see it, but there's information all over the air, that's how we're watching TV. That's how we're talking. So basically it's the same thing, and you're just grabbing it.
That's it. We're grabbing it. We're attaching meaning to it. That meaning that we're attaching is basically deciding that something's going to be or not going to be. And then we have we follow on from that and start making unconscious choices. Those unconscious choices become habits and behaviors. Those habit behaviors become what we embody. It creates this loop, sometimes vicious loop, of what we end up experiencing as our reality.
My loop desperately sends me money.
You say I make no claim to know much of anything. I am not a guru. There's no reason why you should listen to me. Why do you choose those words? Because I feel like you really actually do know. Like, I would change it. I'm claiming that I know a lot, and you should listen to me.
Me too.
I don't know a lot because it's impossible to know everything. And anytime I grasp an idea and say that's what it is, it's already stepped into infinite possibility of being something else. We're always at the cusp of unknowing. And the second that we accept that, we're open to being available to receive from all knowing. It's counterintuitive, but it's only by accepting that I know nothing that I'm available here and now to know all that I need to know now to be all that I can be here and now.
I got you.
I call that a mind fuck. I have to say that.
Yes.
I'm like, hold on a minute. Let me break that shit down. What did you just say? But I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
It's funny because my brain went to, why does he say that? That's sad. Like he needs to own his shit. He needs to own he needs to own his intelligence. He needs to own like that people should listen to him.
I don't think anybody should do anything. I think people should ask themselves what feels good and does no harm here and now, what's expansive to me now, what adds more life to me in the life of those that I love now without taking from others. And then do that. If that's listening to me, listen to me. I'm not for everybody. You know, one of the reasons why I keep one-on-one coaching with me so expensive is because I want people to invest. But another thing is it enables me to filter out the people that really are committed to this being for them. Simple as that. I said no to 3 people this week who wanted to give me $25,000 to coach with me. I said no. I pass some people on to others, and
you can send it. Yeah, you can send them my way. I want them. I don't even care who they are.
I pass them on because A, integrity, but B, everybody has a path that's for them, right?
Yeah.
And if it's not, if I'm not for you, I'm not for you. If I am for you, I won't have to convince you. We're going to rock and roll. And we're going to do some good shit. But if not, then let's go our separate ways and still be friends.
What is your definition of integrity?
For me, integrity is having an alignment with what is honest, what's moral, what's good and uplifting, and constantly choosing to step into that. If Olga says, hey, do I look fat in this? First I'm going to say, do I look stupid? But what she's actually asking me is, I need some reinforcement. I need to know that you love me. And that's what I give. Am I being out of integrity there? No, I'm actually being integrity to actually what's going on. It's uplifting, it's expansive, it's good and groovy.
Gosh, I love how you're so present in your relationship.
It doesn't work all the time. It doesn't work all the time. But I do my bloody best. And that's all we can do at the end of the day. That's all we can do. People running around with shame, with guilt, and with all this ugly, icky stuff because they're trying to hold themselves to an ideal that doesn't even match who they are. All these people running around chasing a dollar bill because they want it to make them feel good, or going into a relationship. I mean, I was on a coaching call with one of my mentors the other day, and there's this guy that was like, I'm gay, but I've been lying to my wife and my kids that I'm straight and I can't do it anymore. And he got to this point where he just can't, he's spent like 20 years or something stupid in this relationship pretending that he's straight because he's living on society's ideas about who we can and can't love. And it's nonsensical that we do that. And I think power comes from rejecting the idea that we have to do that and stepping into the fullness in truth of who we are. Again, the undercurrent is do no harm to others.
Yes. Yes.
I think karma probably does have a play when it comes into a lot of this.
I think.
Do you think that? I mean, because I think that, like, why is all that money coming to me? I'm like, oh, good. Yes, because I worked for free.
Well, then where the heck is mine?
When you go into the money game, it will break it down. But all it means is that your thermostat is higher. That's what it is. But if you look at it from what you said, it kicks in when you go into a space of, oh my God, I need to take care of it. It almost kicks in and triggers it. It doesn't just happen from a space of natural flow. So your relationship to money is being revealed through this experience, but you have the opportunity to change it and you have the power to change it and have it show up differently.
You know what? I saw something on TikTok, or my daughter showed me. It was this girl who does these little experiments every day. So I want everybody to try to manifest $5, and you're going to find it in the most inconspicuous place. And as you're imagining that you're going to find this $5, I want you to imagine how it feels like when you go and you actually pick it up in your hands and all this shit. I tell you not, that night, my daughter found a $5 bill on the side of her bed. She said, and it was just like this girl said. And then she said there was hundreds of comments. Hundreds of people saying the same thing. I thought that is.
Do you know what
awesome.
happened? Do you know what happened? And it's the same thing when I do the money game challenge every now and then. It's that she created a common field that became the placebo for people to subscribe to, the agreement for people to subscribe to that it's possible. And those who subscribed to the agreement had the win, and those that didn't. Those that subscribed to the win and had the alignment had it, and those that subscribed to it and didn't have the alignment didn't have it. She created a conducive space of the perfect storm so that those who had an alignment had something to click into and receive. That's it.
Super cool. I say we do that. We should all do that. We should do it with like 500,000 though. $500. Do it.
I know you're serious. Deadly serious, darling. Deadly serious. Yes.
Gosh, let's talk about the 4 steps real fast. Acceptance, clear, gratitude, and what's the fourth one?
Listen. That's beyond intention. That's my model for owning your power to choose. And ultimately what the model does is it allows us to step into dominion of what I call the choice machine, which is basically the vehicle for which we can create anything that we want. If I accept my ability to create outcomes, so I'm the author and creator of my life, clear the path of everything that's pulling me out of the present moment and step into the present moment, connect to the outcome through gratitude that I want, and then listen to hear when I come off course and then course correct. There's nothing that I can't create.
I love the listen. I think people don't usually get the listen in people that we've talked to who have suggested this.
Listening to others, yes, but I think more importantly, listening to ourselves and what's going
For
on.
ourselves, yes. Trusting
to the heart, to our soul.
We do this thing at the end of our podcast, which I don't want this to end because I'm really enjoying this.
And now it's time for Break That Shit Down.
Be present enough to let your soul sing, no matter what the fuck it has to sing about. That's it.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So where can our listeners find you? What are you offering right now as far as your workshops? Let's get into
dreamwithdan.com. Dreamwithdan.com. The podcast is there. The books are there. The free resources are there. Definitely go and check out Harmonious Money Magnet workshops right now.
Yeah.
But I didn't do any work in December. So January, I'm like sort of.
Well, hello. You had a 9-month pregnant wife.
Yeah. So I really just spend a lot of time just sniffing Ethan at the moment.
I love that you said that. Babies smell so good, and I love anyone who can appreciate that.
So yummy. So the best thing to do is to just jump on the email list. Anything that's going on, we'll definitely let you guys know. I'm considering doing a relaunch of a really cool program that I had called Alchemic Life Creation, which is basically teaches you how to be the Neo of your own reality. We look at lucid living. We look at how to integrate really cool stuff like ESP and lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences to actually create grounded, abundant life experiences. I did it as a pilot a couple of years ago, and I never got around to redoing it. And I'm going to do it live again at some point in 2021. So that will probably be cool and something that your listeners will be up for. But other than that, I'm always on social media, but all the links for everything's on my website, dreamwithdan.com.
So you are actually really taking the word dream and doing the dream work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't just dream with your eyes open.
That's right,
I love that.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. I'm really sorry the first half of our podcast I was in my car.
Added to the adventure.
Again, congratulations on your son. You know, Shanna and I have 22 all the way down to 6.
Wow.
So there's nothing better than being a parent, and they go from that stage your son is in now to all of a sudden they're grown men and you're like, where did time go? So I wish that I would have been more awake and more present, because that is truly the one thing that I feel like helps you to slow time down. Mm-hmm. So you're lucky that you know that.
And I'd also say, Dan, is that my kids have been such a part of my spiritual growth. So we should have you on in like 10 years and you're going to be like, here's the steps to levitate.
Awesome. Thank you. I can't wait to use your steps to help Shanna and I keep doing what we love doing, help us bring some abundance.
Awesome. We'll let you know how it goes when I manifest that big one, man.
Go for it.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Much love, guys.
Thanks for being with us today. We hope you will come back next week. If you like what you hear, don't forget to rate, like, and subscribe.
Thank you. We rise to lift you up.
Thanks for listening.